A very good morning to you and welcome to Rise and Shine Daily. Of course, it's a Monday morning, and for those of you in Nigeria, of course, you know that it is a new political season. Quite I would say, an atmosphere of mixed feelings because Nigerians around the country not yesterday now, on Saturday actually, which was the 18th of March, thronged out to the different polling units to exercise their civil responsibility by voting different people for the governorship seats in the different states, and of course state houses of assembly elections as well that happened on Saturday. So more like some Nigerians have actually said that yes, it's more like we are building on democracy in Nigeria, while some also think that the democratic process in Nigeria has been threatened. But whatever side of the divide you are this morning, we do appreciate you for your concerns and your sentiments. But welcome once again to Rise and Shine Daily. My name is Janice Cobham, and if you are akin to the Rise and Shine Saturday, you definitely know this face that I'm about to introduce on set this morning. Of course, I'm going to be doing this together from now until 9 o'clock with Francis Edet. Good morning, Francis. Rise and Shine Saturday or Rise and Shine Monday?
Okay, so there had to be this twist today, but it's a beautiful thing to be here. Good morning, Janice, and Happy New Week. Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, Africa. It's a wonderful first day of the week to be alive, to be happy, to be thankful. And yes, the weekend came with a lot of unexpected twists and turns as far as the political terrain is concerned. A lot of announcements made across the respective states out of 28 states who had, gone to the polls to elect who would become their governors. And particularly, I think Twitter and social media platforms are bustling right now because we've had, some top females coming up, and it's more or less like the women are ready to take over the mantle of leadership this time around.
Yeah, definitely ready to take over the mantle of leadership. We see that in our Ibom state, we have a deputy governor and the person of Akwa. She's a female, so we applaud that move there by the PDP in the initial stage for bringing a woman on board. And of course, somewhere in northern Nigeria, we saw a 26-year-old girl that won a seat to the State House of Assembly, and of course, the first woman governor somewhere in northern Nigeria as well. Obviously, she's beginning to be tagged as Madam Governor, and all of that. But anyways, we'll just hang it there for a while. Many thanks for joining us again. Of course, like Francis has said, it's a Monday, the beginning of a new week, and there are just so many expectations Nigerians are having towards this particular new administration. A lot of people, are coming on board freshly. We saw in Akwa Ibom State here, we have a new governor-elect in the person of Pastor Umoino, and different cases in different states across the country where we also saw incumbents, return again. Lagos State is one, or your state where we have Sheyi Makinde is another one, and obviously we also saw new people come on board. So it's going to be quite a beautiful administration as we take up, the next 4 years in our political scene.
Well, it's going to be a very challenging scenario playing out, especially for the first-time comers, and particularly for the lady who is currently now addressed as Madam Governor, because for a long time now, Nigerians have always the milkful mostly with due respect and apologies to those who are supporting women and supporting the spirit of fairness, justice and equity as far as power and occupying places of authority is concerned within the corridors of power. Now, before now, it's been said that women are not capable of running, political offices. And part of the reasons, apart from the religious and other barriers that have been placed on women, has been that a couple of women who have occupied very sensitive positions in government have oftentimes misused those positions. But then you ask, men have also been, misusing their positions. How come we're still giving men the opportunities? So it's a big task for the women who are championing the rise of the women folks. The next 4 years, their performance, their ability to deliver is significantly going to determine what happens to, aspiring women who are seeking or will be seeking political office. I know in Akwa Ibom State, the social media space, I've seen like 4 women who have said, you know what, come 2030, I am going to be, 2027, I'm going to be contesting for the governorship seat. I saw Pastor Evangelist Dr. Patrick Babio. I saw another lady talked about it. And of course, we also had female contenders for this present gubernatorial election that just got concluded and announced. So that alone tells me that in the next 4 years, we are going to have a lot more women gunning for the #1 position. And if the lady does well, which I know she is definitely, because she's aware of the enormous responsibility that she has to achieve for others to now have something to bank on. And I trust that is going to turn out well. But I seriously, personally, on a personal note though, I am still dreaming and waiting for the day we'll have a governor that's a woman in Akwa Ibom State. I'm still looking for that day when Nigeria will get so liberated, African societies will get so liberated to have a woman running for the presidency and she actually gets to win. I'm looking for those days. Let's get to see how a woman fares and how a man fares. And then we'll be able to have, things side by side to compare and contrast and then see what happens.
Definitely. But if you're just joining us, of course, Rise and Shine Daily, and it's a Monday, do head straight to our social media, handles across Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and do well to subscribe, like, and share to be a part of the growing community here on Spectrum Television. But let's go straight down to our major conversations for the morning. Of course, we have to start from home, which is Akwa Ibom State, where we saw the candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, in Akwa Ibom State, Pastor Moino, being declared the winner of the governorship election in the state. Of course, Moino was declared the winner on Sunday in Uyo, the state capital, by Emmanuel Adigio, professor and returning officer for the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. Mr. Eno won in 29 of the 31 local government areas in the state with a total of 354,348 votes to defeat his top challenger, Basi Albert of the Young Progressives Party, YPP, who won in 2 local government areas, scoring a total of 136,262 votes. Now, the candidate of the All Progressives Congress, APC, Akanimo Odofia, came third with 129,602 votes. We'll just take a listen to this video and then we'll get back right into the conversation.
Agents of the party, members of the press, we've come to the end of the coalition. And first of all, I will introduce myself. My name is Professor Emmanuel Adigio, Vice Chancellor, Nigerian Maritime University, Okerenkoko in Delta State. I want to present the collated results from the collation booklet. We have 31 local governments that submitted the collation for our collation here. And the total number of registered voters are 235,7418. 235,7418. Number of accredited voters, 657,959. Come again, sir. 657,959. The following are the voters for each party. Party A, the total vote is 437 votes. 437 votes. Party AA, 181. 181. Party AAC, 393. 393. Party ADC, 1685. 1685. Party ADP, 642. 642. Party APC, 129602. 129602. Party APGA, 311. 311. Party APM, 381. 381. Party APP, 121. 121. Party BP, 141. 141. Party LP, 4746. 4746. Party NNPP, 12509. 12509. Party NRM, I am the returning officer for the 2023 Akwa Ibom State Governorship election held on the 18th day of March 2023. The election was contested. The candidates received the following votes. Number 1, Kofi Emem Samuel, male, Party A. Total votes received 437. Number 2, Ikandem Abasie Keme Inong Bong, female, Party AA, 181 votes. Number 3, Otu Iboro Robert. Iboro Robert. Masculine, male. Political party AAC, 393. Enyang Edcock Ezekiel, male. Party ADC, 1,685 votes. Number 5, Asian Ekere Sunday, male, ADP, 642 votes. Number 6, no name, APC, 129,602 votes. Akwa Eta Basi, number 7, male, APGA, 311 votes. Number 8, Ekong Eyo, male, APM, 381 votes. Mbamba Ephraim Okon, male, APP, 123 votes. Ekpenyong Akaniyene Efyong, male, BP, 141 votes. Okon Uko Hussein, male, LP, 4,746 votes. Number 12, Akpano Don Edenye John James, male, NNPP, 12,509 votes. Ethan Kubeat Basi, male, NRM, 861 votes. Eno Kumo Basi, male, PDP, 356,348 votes. Ikanem Sunday Francis, male, PRP, 288 votes. Udo Imam Monday, female, SDP, 442 votes. Akpan Albert Basi, male, YPP, 136,262 votes. Thomas Isikat Ogan, male, ZLP, 728 votes. That Eno Umo Basi of PDP, having satisfied the requirements of the law, is hereby declared the winner and is returned elected. Signed, returning officer.
Thank God. Let the happy hour begin.
Okay, so let the happy hour begin. I know that when he talked about this happy hour thing, there was just a lot of dust being raised as concerning what that comment stood for or the implication of that comment. But we have it, Umoino, Pastor Umoino, as the governor-elect, you know, for Akwa Ibom State with 354,348 votes accumulated so far. So many congratulations though to Pastor Moino and of course the PDP family in the state. I would say that a lot of people didn't see this coming, while some people actually thought that, okay, so it's nothing different, you know, owing to the fact that PDP had traditionally been the party of Akwa Ibom State when we even take it back to the likes of the administration of Victor Atta to Gospel Akpabio to Udom Emmanuel, and now we are having Pastor Moino as the governor-elect for the state. So a lot of people thought that, okay, fine, you know, we would remain in that culture, but some people were also quietly praying that the narrative would change and then we'll have a different position this time around. But look at it, here we are having a PDP again in Akwa Ibom State rule the state for another 4 years.
Well, it's congratulations to the PDP family first and foremost, and then congratulations to Pastor Moino Anakoneyanyi. Yeah, they have been announced as the governor-elect and, of course, deputy governor-elect. And yes, there is every cause for celebration, but we cannot also walk away from the fact that at the collation center yesterday, the APC family completely did not agree with the collations of the result that was carried out. And of course, the YPP family, the YPP agent, vehemently, in his words, refused to append his signature to, the electoral result just before it was announced. And he cited instances of the pockets of violence that, we recorded across Akwa Ibom State and the loss of lives. And he said, appending his signature to the final booklet of the elections would be a disservice to the innocent Akwa Ibomites who went out to vote and were, ended up, losing their lives. And then apart from that, we also saw the different locations where thuggery were reported, where voter intimidations were reported, where people had actually gone out to vote and they were prevented from voting their choice candidate, just like what we saw in Lagos State, even though this was not as pronounced as the video surfacing from Lagos State. But citing all of these instances, the APC and the YPP candidates had said they were not in support of that, even though the APC representative did append the signature. But we had, of the political parties who were present, 17 appending their signatures and one did not because of those instances. But moving away from that, it is worth saying that a lot of persons in Akwa Ibom State had anticipated a shift in the spirit of justice, in the spirit of fairness and equity away from the PDP. And then, of course, it's been like a tradition. And part of the reasons some persons in Akwa Ibom, or most persons would say, let's move away from the PDP, has been to test a different hand and get to see how another party will be able to fare. Now, you look at the national scene, we had the PDP leading us for a good number of years before the APC came into power. And now we know the debate that is going on.
But then again, when you say that we are trying to see how another party comes into power for us to be able to test which hand is better, let's not also forget that most of the top contenders that, we're vying for this position from another party, they're also members of the People's Democratic Party. And it was because the ticket was not given to them, they left the party out of grievances, So is it not the same PDP that we would be having in a different party? It's the same and one, they said it's 1 and 10 pence, the same 1 and 10 pence.
12 and a dozen. Well, a lot of persons would disagree. I mean, look at the national scene, for instance. Peter Obi was of the PDP. At some point, he ran side by side with Atiku Abubakar before breaking out this year.
Exactly.
Now, if you look at what Peter Obi has been able to do and look at what Atiku Abubakar has been able to do, you would see that there's been a significant transformation from the Peter Obi who was of the PDP and the Peter Obi who was able to stand on his own. And I go back to the statement of the former governor of Cross River State, Donald Duke, and he categorically stated that part of the reason sometimes when you have people, you have good men, good politicians, good leaders within the PDP who have the interests of the people at heart, who are willing to deliver on the dividends of the democracy. But the way the party is structured, the way the party is dependent on the kind of the power brokers within the party and the history of these people will not allow such individuals to be able to do the things they want to do. Because it is like when you want, there's stories that you find certain persons within a political party trying to do good and they're called and cautioned back to others, say, hey, hold it right there, you're not supposed to do this. So those were the instances that Donald Duke brought out and highlighted as being part of the reasons you have a sitting or a governor campaigning for a particular thing and promising, and then you look from his antecedents and it shows that this person can deliver. But fast forward into 4 years, 8 years into office, you look back into the things the person promised, and he's not been able to deliver.
I think that's what it brings us back to the issue of godfatherism in politics. Now, in Akwa Ibom State, for instance, we have the incumbent, who is Emmanuel Udom, saying that he wants to put a successor. And true to type, he has put a successor. And then what is the duty of the successor? Obviously, you want a successor that will, like they would say, bring about continuity, or consolidate on the gains or on the achievements of the past administration and all of that. But truth be told. In Nigeria, when you say that a sitting governor wants to put a successor, it's because the sitting governor wants to still be in charge or still have some level of control over that state. Or then again, we could also say that it is because the sitting governors want somebody that will be able to close gaps, close the, how do I put it now?
The loopholes and
yes,
the lapses.
Close the loopholes and gaps that, they have created somewhere, or their foot tracks. So that's where we are in the country where we are.
Well, that's the country that we are in, but we can also walk away from the fact that it is one thing for someone to be campaigning for power, and then at that point, everybody is loyal to a fault, humble to a fault. But power has a way of transforming a man. I mean, let's still stay with our crime state, for
more
instance.
like power is getting people intoxicated, or
No,
the adage from the Animal Farm book that says that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts.
Corrupts, absolutely. That can also be applicable here. But let's look at the present administration now. Minister Godswill Akpabio brought in Governor Udom Emmanuel.
Exactly.
And regardless of the opposition, the mounting challenges he faced, he was able to put him in power. Fast forward 4 years after, the same Akpabio brought Udom into power was no longer in terms with Udom. And up until today, the two seems to have not been able to find a common ground, to still come together. Even the media space, when you talk about propagating what successive administration have been able to achieve, it seems like there is a deliberate attempt, a deliberate move to skip what Godswill Akpabio did. But the truth remains, regardless of politics, if you're counting the governorship positions in Akwa Ibom State, you start from Atta, what he was able to do, to Akpabio, what he was able to do, to Udom Emmanuel, what he's been able to do, before you now get to Pastor Umoino, and what he will be able to do by the end of his administration. But a situation where people intentionally, refuse to mention the achievement of Godswill Akpabio, it tells you how deep the disparities between these two people are. But regardless of that, yes, Governor Udom Emmanuel has been able to succeed in putting Pastor Umoino. But the big question now we have, will Pastor Umoino and Governor Udom Emmanuel remain close ties and allies till the end?
I think it's a big question, and like we were even talking about this issue yesterday, we've seen that in Nigeria, when an incumbent brings in a successor, and the whole godfatherism thing, oh, this is my political father, and all of that. When once the person takes up power, it's a different ballgame altogether, because you wouldn't say that a Pastor Umoino would still want to be this humble to Udom Emmanuel, even when he takes power. When he takes over power, all government apparatus and all the powers that resides with him will reside with him, and he can wield it wherever he chooses to wield it to. Okay, so we have that situation where, of course, you become a governor today, you would also want to exert your own authority. You would also want to say, this should be done the way I want it. So we'll have a serious issue, with incumbent Governor Udom Emmanuel trying to still be in control of the state, and Pastor Umoino saying, no, I'm in charge this time around. So we have those situations in the country. So we are expecting to see that. Maybe we are not envisaging it though, but maybe moving forward from now, there could be some kind of rift going forward, in their relationship. But it also depends on both of them. They could work things out in a good way to the point that they are able to keep their relationship going. And of course, you can't say that because I'm out of seat as governor, I am not a stakeholder again in the state. Of course, we know that we need to work together to make the state work. So Udom Emmanuel on the sideline could be like, okay, more like someone that gives advice now, take this advice, this is how to make things work, this is how to make things go, and all of that. So I think that even whether there's a rift between Governor Udom Emmanuel and former governor of Akwa Ibom State, Godswill Akpabio, they should try to shoot their sword and look for common grounds where they can actually move Akwa Ibom State forward and not necessarily, causing problems for themselves.
I totally agree with you. But just like like you rightly said, it's about the two individuals. It's like mother and children relationship or parents and children relationship. And part of the reasons you have parents and children fight is because parents fail to understand that at some stage, the children they brought up and had to
Have
nurse
grown.
and instruct have grown to take their own decision, and they are entitled to take their own decision. They only have the responsibility of reporting to you or notifying you as their parents, not asking you to decide for them. That era has passed. So when incumbents understand that, oh, I'm no longer in power. Yes, I brought him to power, but he's in charge. And they understand the role they should play, then we will not have any problem in politics or in governance. But when incumbents fail to understand that they are no longer in charge, and they also have it as an obligation to show respect to the office they once occupied by paying due loyalty to that person they brought into office, then all these challenges will be brought to a
I think I quite agree with you, but let's see how it unfolds in Akwa Ibom state and across other states in Nigeria as well. We also have Cross River State, where the incumbent Governor Benayade also had his made so much effort in bringing Prince Basio II on seat, as a successor. So we'll leave it at that and go for a break. And when we come back, of course, we have a daily spotlight, and we'll still be reviewing some of the issues that happened on Sunday following the outcome of the governorship and state houses of assembly elections here in Nigeria. Don't forget, it happened across 28 states in the country. We'll join Mary Joseph. We're standing by for the news brief, and when we come back, other interesting conversations on Rise and Shine will definitely continue. To stay with us.
As of state and government, Secretary General, distributed delegates.
This was the Lagos Nigeria for Spectrum to recover 40 lives in still counting.
A very good morning to you and welcome to your morning news brief on Spectrum. Live from Uyo, I am Mary Joseph. We begin the news brief with Akwa Ibom State Governor Domi Manuel, who has thanked God for always blessing the state with good leaders and expressed gratitude to the people of the state for their good judgment in choosing Pastor Moino in the just concluded gubernatorial election, accepting that the election result is the best answer to the tantrums and insults of naysayers. The governor, who stated this when he received the governor-elect Pastor Moino at the Hilltop Mansion shortly after the declaration of Eno as winner of the March 18 gubernatorial elections, described Moino as a man with a very large heart and a symbol of peace that the state stands for, assuring that his successor magnanimity to accommodate all. He also called on everybody to join hands to move the state forward. Meanwhile, the Akwa Ibom State Coalition Officer, Professor Emmanuel Adidi, has announced Pastor Moino as the PDP governorship-elect candidate of Saturday's March 18 election. PDP Moino gained 354,348 votes to beat his closest competition, Basi Albert of the YPP, who gathered 136,262 votes, and APC Akanodofia, who scored 129,602 votes. On security, the Inspector General of Police IGP Usman Akali has said that Nigeria Police NPF has done well in policing the gubernatorial and state houses of assembly elections conducted on Saturday. Akali also said that the NPF would investigate some of the violations identified during the polls. On the foreign scene, troubled bank Credit Suisse has been rescued by its Swiss rival Union Bank of Switzerland (UBS) in a government-backed deal. The announcement came after a weekend of emergency talks in Switzerland between the two banks and the country's financial regulators. The Swiss National Bank said the deal was the best way to restore the confidence of financial markets and to manage risks to the economy. Both banks will be given a liquidity assistance loan of up to $110 billion. We head now to sport, where Manchester United came from a goal down to beat nine-man Fulham and reach the FA Cup semi-finals with a controversial victory at Old Trafford. Silva was red-carded before Cavani could even reach a decision. Once he did, Willian was dismissed as well. Then Alexander Mitrovic, who had put Fulham in front, grabbed the referee as he angrily demonstrated and became the third visitor to be sent off. We'll have details of these stories and more in our news at 12. I am Mary Joseph. Let's head back to Rise and Shine, where we have Janice and Francis on standby. Do have a wonderful morning.
Government, Secretary General, distributed delegates.
This was the Lagos Nigeria for Spectrum to recover 40 lives in still counting.
Thanks for staying with us. If you just joined us, this is Rise and Shine coming to you live on Spectrum Television. And of course, you know we're beaming live from you, the capital city of Akwa State. And today, the excitement, the atmosphere, the anticipated joy and celebration is not really there. And just like we were having this conversation backstage before coming up, it seems like it's the first time in a long while in Nigeria when elections has been held and concluded, and you don't really get to see that kind of celebratory atmosphere across the streets of Nigeria. From the national elections, from the presidency, now we're talking about the state's election. And that goes down to the fact that at this election, a lot has happened. But you can join the conversations on our Facebook page and across our social media platform at spectrum.ng. Of course, shortly we'll be letting out the phone lines so that you can join the conversation and tell us what you feel about the elections in your respective states. Now, part of the reasons why people have not been able to, really celebrate this election, really celebrate the announcement, even at the INEC office at the Collation Center yesterday, the police PPRO came with an extra entourage of security operatives. Okay. And then when I approached him and I asked, why are you coming at this point? And he said, this is the time when you get to know whether election was peaceful or not. This is the time when you get to find out, put those security measures in place to ensure that we don't escalate or things doesn't get out of proportion. And judging from the atmosphere that was given by the APC and the YPP, if there was going to be violence in Akwa State, it would have started from the Collation Center, right from the Collation Center. But thankfully, probably this time around, these two people are very deliberately intending to probably, if they're going to take any actions, take it through the law court. But regardless of that we've had pockets of insecurity recorded. We've had pockets of violence, particularly including Uyo Metropolis. I remember speaking with the NNPP governorship candidate at his polling unit, and just 2 miles from his polling unit, there were gunshots, and there was no election at those polling unit. And now it was traced to persons within these present administrations. And one of the questions that was asked is, INEC before now had said they were going to prosecute electoral offenders. The police had said, we've established electoral offenses DACs across the different police division in Nigeria. But we are yet to see one person, even one person being prosecuted for all the mayhems that has happened in Nigeria, in Akwa Ibom State.
I think it's quite pathetic. It brings us to our next conversation, which is, looking at reviewing the elections, even from the presidential and to Saturday, 2 days ago now, where we had the gubernatorial and state houses of assembly elections across the country. Now, I know that even when during the presidential elections, there were a lot of people, that raised brows as to the conduct of the elections, even from campaigns. You had political parties directly, mudslinging other political parties, which, of course, INEC says is against the code of conduct of the elections and all of that. And there were going to be punitive measures, to be taken against such political parties and their candidates. But we never saw any of those happening, or we never saw prosecutions taking place as to, some of those actions taken by these political parties. And then we come down to even the elections. We saw that the presidential elections of 25 March was marred by a lot of discrepancies and irregularities. And we were also expecting, to see INEC come up with something better during the gubernatorial elections in terms of maybe they did better by coming out quite early on the gubernatorial elections, because we saw that we didn't have situations where they say that there were no INEC staffs readily,
available.
Readily available and all of that. So maybe they worked on that aspect. But again, we bring to the question, what were the security agents doing, because we saw a whole lot of violence. And even in the wee hours of Saturday morning, we had started hearing that people have been shot dead and all of that. So I think that the elections generally had a lot of discrepancies. And like we were talking about this yesterday, some people have also accused Muhammadu Buhari of the fact that this election seemingly is one of the worst elections that, you know, can go down the annals of the history of this country and all of that. So I think that it's really pathetic to see, and we are wondering if with all that happens during the elections, especially let's even just you know, leave it at the gubernatorial elections now, all the things that happened during the gubernatorial elections, would we say that democracy is being protected in this regard, or we would say that democracy in Nigeria is actually being threatened? We saw people try to snatch ballot boxes. We saw ballot papers being, you know, destroyed and burnt to ashes. We saw all of that. We saw people lose their lives. We saw thugs, you know, come into polling units and destroy everything and chase people away. We saw excessive voter buying. We saw excessive voter intimidation and all of that. So it's really terrible, if you ask me. I don't know what happened in other states, in other parts of the country, okay? But I think that one flashpoint that was even given before the gubernatorial elections, now, and I think that was on Saturday on the front pages of our papers, we saw that a state like Lagos State was also part of the flashpoints, you know, in terms of violence. I think even the chairman of Parks and Garages in Lagos State, Musili Akinsoya, now popularly known as MC Oluwomo, came out openly to threaten people in Lagos State. And you know that when we look at what happened in Lagos State on Saturday, we would say that the threat of MC Oluwomo actually came into play, because we saw videos and footages where people came out and said, look, if you're not voting for the APC in Lagos State, better stay in your houses. And we also saw that for those that even came out to vote for a different party or the party of their choice, we saw how they were intimidated. We saw how they were brutalized as well. We had a guest on our show in the course of reviewing the elections on Saturday, where he said that he was forced, you know, and his ballot paper was collected and they thumb printed on it and voted on his behalf, you know, for the APC. So all of these are things that I think that INEC and the federal government should go back. If INEC is the electoral umpire of Nigeria, and if they are truly independent, they should go back to the drawing board and see how they can conduct a more free, fair and credible elections. But if you ask me, you know, the credibility of this particular elections, I would say that President Buhari did not live up to his bidding when he said that he was going to leave a legacy of giving Nigerians a free, fair and credible elections. It's nowhere close to a free, fair, credible elections.
Well, the international communities have spoken already as far as the presidential election is concerned. It was marred by massive rigging, thuggery, voter intimidation, and all of those issues. And then just coming down to the threat issued by MC Oluwomo. You see, Nigeria has become a joke that you find people who are supposed to protect the integrity and the sanctity of the rule of law coming out to defend the abuse of the rule of law, the abuse of the constitutional rights of other Nigerians. Because in a saner society, persons like MC Oluwomo should have been arrested and locked up behind bars. And he should be held accountable for all the lives that have been wasted in Lagos State, because everything came from him. Now, I'm asking myself, where did the hate speech law came into power? I'm asking myself, why has that not been attributed or activated for the MC Oluwomo's speech, a statement that he made? I'm asking myself, why did the authorities come out to make a joke or make it look like a joke what MC Oluwomo said to Nigerians? Because when you're talking about Lagos State, Lagos is no man's island. It doesn't belong to anybody. As a matter of fact, no state in Nigeria belongs to a particular person, because we have the constitutional right to live and do business across the respective state. So one individual stands up in a state that has a conglomerate of different ethnic groups and make a declarative statement, and then few hours later, government, people who are supposed to take the responsibility of prosecuting that individual, are coming out to issue a counter statement claiming it was a joke, as if he was making it in a... Even if MC Oluwomo made that comment in a skit, even if he made it look like a joke, that is not a statement that should have been swept on the carpet, because of the importance of because of the position of MC Oluwomo, and because of successive situations and instances that has happened in Lagos State, which of course has also been attributed to him. Now we've seen massive voter intimidation. We've seen massive thuggery activities. We've seen massive destructions of electoral materials. We've seen people going out to vote, and people just take, like a guy said, I have a couple of friends in Okota, I have a couple of friends in Ikeja, and across Lagos State. And one thing all of them have categorically clarified is that if you wanted your life safe, if you loved your life, you stay indoors. You don't go out to vote. So MC Olomo did not just intimidate Nigerians from going out to vote. MC Olomo also made it possible for thousands of Nigerians in Lagos State to be disenfranchised.
Definitely.
So what are the authorities going to do? It seems they're not going to do anything, because if the Nigerian police force have issued a statement or have even come out to defend and call it a joke, then it means they've already told Nigerians this is not something that we are going to attempt to investigate. This is not something that we're going to attempt to prosecute. So it's a joke, and it's a joke. But the same Nigerian police will come out to say if people are using the accessories of the police for comedy skills, they should be prosecuted. And all of that, even when the provisions of the law has given Nigerian entertainers the right to use those things to do it. So I think it would be fair to say, as the international communities have said, Nigeria has gotten to a point where INEC, as the electoral umpire, needs to prove to the whole world that the election, the material, the collation result they used to announce Ahmed Bola Tinubu as president-elect is authentic.
I think it raises a lot of concerns, and just like we were trying to banter about this yesterday, I remember that Raymond made a position to say that we are waiting to see how all of this will unfold, whether by 29th of May this year, we'll see President Muhammadu Buhari swear in, Bola Ahmed Tinubu of the All Progressives Congress, president-elect, as the next president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, because it leaves a lot of people wondering at this point what is actually the body language of the president. He has not come out to make a categorical statement, even as to, some of those discrepancies and challenges that the elections, the 2023 elections faced. All I know that the president has said is that those that are, dissatisfied with the election results should go to court to seek for redress and all of that. But that's just what he has said. He has not said anything concerning some of the discrepancies that this particular elections have, received. But talking about voter intimidation and voter apathy that was experienced in some parts of the country, and especially in Lagos State, we saw something happened in Bayelsa State, where some group of market women decided to go to the market, even when it was said that there was no markets, no work on that Saturday. Everybody should go out to vote. We saw these women come out in their numbers, and the market was buzzing, and people buying and selling in that particular market and shunning the elections totally in Bayelsa State. But we'll just take a look at that video and see what these Bayelsa women had to say about the elections generally. Anyways, while we're trying to get a hold of that particular video, but it puts us in a situation where people have lost confidence in the electoral process of this country. And that was where we were several years ago, until a man like Peter Obi came and changed the narrative and, garnering and gathering the support of very young people. And we saw that in the history of Nigeria, when we even talk about voter registration and all of that, you see that this particular 2023 election recorded the most in terms of registration. I think it was about 10 million voters extra, plus what was earlier recorded for INEC and all of that. So a lot of people were also very, very conscious of this particular electoral process and very involved as well. We saw a lot of young people have the reawakening to be part and parcel of the process, you know, of electing their respective leaders. But I think to a large extent, when we look at the outcomes of this election, from the presidential to the gubernatorial and state houses of assembly elections, I think it has been mad, and we will go back to that position where when next they call for elections, you see young people playing football on the streets rather than going to vote.
Well, it's going to be a very big problem. And Nigeria's image, as far as the people in diaspora are concerned, is greatly battered, further worsened by the election that has just been concluded. Because before now, it was difficult enough owning a Nigerian passport and presenting that at the embassies. Now it's going to be like times 20 worse scenario. But then there is a caveat that if it comes to pass, can completely transform the narrative for Nigerians, and that is the legal narrative. And like the EU have said, if INEC is able to come out to prove that the result sheet or the result they actually uploaded, they had followed through. First, they had followed through the provisions of the Electoral Act in the conduct of the national elections, and then they are able to prove that the authentic result was what was used to announce Ahmed Bola Tinubu as the president-elect, then they would have been able to salvage Nigeria. And the second caveat that can come to play is when or if the judiciary is able to give justice to the persons, because like Peter Obi and Elijah Tiko Abubakar have said consistently, they were given, both of them believe they were given the people's mandate, and then it was stolen. And that is what they're seeking to take back through the court, the legal instrument. One thing I love about this particular scenario playing out is, one, that the antecedent, the expectations that maybe the obedient movement would skyrocket into another NSAS or something worse has not come to play. And that could be largely dependent on the fact that Peter Obi has been very calm in his response. He's always been on the side of urging Nigerians, urging the youths to be calm. He's going to take back the mandate using the legal instrument. And that is one thing that has helped Nigeria to not break out at this point in time. Because if Peter Obi happened to have been a violent person who would say, you know what, we have to protest, we have to use every available instrument.
And even when they said, sorry for quoting you short, even when they said that, you know, they were going to protest across, you know, the country at every INEC office, we are yet to see that happen. But I also like the fact that Peter Obi has come out to say that he has trust for the legal system in the country. And he has also said that the legal system in Nigeria is one of the best, you know, in the world. But again, the caveat is that a lot of political individuals, you know, are the ones trying to infiltrate and spoil the Nigerian legal system. But he has that confidence, you know, that the legal system in Nigeria will give him back his mandate, you know.
Well, the bulk of the responsibility is now with Justice Ariwola, the CJN, and the entire legal system. Will they be able to ensure that justice prevails? That's a big question that only they can answer. Will Peter Obi or the PDP be able to reclaim the mandate through the ballot or through the legal system? That's a big question that is still left unanswered until the proceedings are over and done with and the announcement made or the verdict given by the judiciary. But then going back to Bielsa State, as Gracious did informed us during the election show, part of the reason that is happening, I mean, we even saw live buying of votes at the respective polling unit, and it was like a normal thing. So people expect that on election day, they're going to be given money to vote. And instead of calling it what it is, they gave it a beautiful name to justify the action. They call it appreciation. I mean, we paid our way down here to vote. So having voted for them, they're appreciating also that we can pay our way back. And I'm asking, do you need to be paid to exercise your civic responsibility? Do you need to be paid to vote in competent leaders? And what's the guarantee that after collecting the money, or you did not even vote in anticipation of the money? Because money has a way of infecting the individual's mind. It has a way of, you know, taking away the just conscience that we have, to making us take decisions that will look back 2 years, 3 years, 4 years after and like, oh my goodness, I wish I did not take this decision. But that is the scenario that we find ourselves in. That is the horrible scenario that we find ourselves in.
I think we'll just take a look at what happened in Bayelsa State, that popular market in Bayelsa State where women came out in their numbers to do their day-to-day businesses, not minding whether Saturday was gubernatorial and state houses of assembly elections in their state. Let's take a listen.
When we vote number one, they're not going to count our votes. That's what we vote for. They're going to promote and they're going to put another person. That's the one we don't need. Now that they put. Instead of that one, we market women, we don't go vote. All these big men were there for Nigeria, they suffer. This one that they suffer is not good.
Okay, so obviously women are complaining that they are suffering and politicians and political leaders are not making matters any less difficult for them. But again, on the flip side now, talking about who we actually vote for, you do not bring on board, our votes are not being counted. It brings us to a position where a lot of people, when once the candidate, their preferred candidate is not being announced and declared as the winner of the elections, it means that the election is not credible. It means people should go back and sit at home and not participate anymore in the elections. I think that's so much trouble coming for Nigerians if we continue to have that kind of mentality, because these are women that are saying, look, our votes do not count. How do they know that their votes did not count? That's basically because their preferred candidate was not announced as the winner. Okay, suppose their preferred candidate was announced as a winner, would it also mean that their votes are being counted? So I think that we should go beyond those kinds of sentiments, because it's not also good for our democratic process. It's not good for our electoral process as well. Whether your votes are counted or not, do not give people the opportunity to, you know, I think someone said something, I'm trying to wrap my head around it, that when you do not go out to vote because you feel disappointed with the process, it gives the other people the ample opportunity to instill whoever they want to instill into power.
Well, do these women know whether or not their vote actually counted? It's debatable, but if you look at the the turnout of event during the presidential elections, just like what happened during the state election, people took pictures, real life pictures. People had videos, real life videos of election being counted at their respective polling unit. And then when the collation eventually came in, they were completely different from what they saw. Now, if you look at those evidences, we cannot say that these women did not know who won at their respective polling units. So when they know who won at their respective polling units, and then the final collation comes from Abuja, and their polling unit, the person they know, they have evidence won, is no longer the person that won, is a clear indication, is a clear proof that their vote does not count. And to that effect, they can say, we are no longer interested in voting.
But I think it's a bad place to have us in this country. Just like I said earlier, you know, we're thinking that, you know, for the 2023 elections, we have grown past that stage where people would just sit down and feel that their votes do not count. And because of that, you know, there's just so much voter apathy. But we see that happening again. And 2027 is another year when Nigerians will be thronging to, you know, the different polling units to vote for different candidates again. How will it look like, you know, during that period? It's a big question that we are asking, and of course Nigerians also have their reservations and mixed feelings concerning all of the elections that, you know, have come to play. But again, let's also know that elections are over and this is time for real governance. We are also looking forward to see that all of the people that have been elected into the different offices, political offices now, will live up to the expectation of giving Nigerians the different levels the expected dividends of democracy. But we'll just take a breather, and when we come back, of course, we'll be coming back with daily spotlights where we get to share with you some details on the front pages of our national dailies. To stay with us. All right, welcome back. Of course, our daily spotlight where we get to share with you some of the major stories making it on the front page of our national dailies this morning. But just to also let you know that you can be part and parcel of the conversation, we will have our phone lines open so Nigerians can also have their reactions on some of the major issues happening in the country. But also head up straight to our socials on Facebook, YouTube and Instagram. Do follow, do subscribe so that you can join the growing community and also have your say. You can drop your messages also on our WhatsApp number and we'll definitely get to read them out live here on set. But let's start this morning with our papers. Let's start this morning with our papers and we'll be starting with Daily Sun. Daily Sun this morning, the big story obviously has to do with the global elections that happened across 28 states in the country on Saturday. It says governorship election, Abiodun Makinde and Yahaya Abdul Razak win. And the writer says Bala Muhammad, Sanwo-Olu, Oborevori lead in Bauchi, Lagos Delta, and Enugu Abia wait in bated breath as Labour alleges attempts to alter results. Results from agents indicated I won Lagos Guba pool, says Rhodes Vivor. We also have that Amechi has confirmed our fears about INEC chairman Atiku. Okay, a comment there by Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. You can find details of that on page 29. Moving forward, Assembly. Adeleke loads electorate for giving PDP 25 out of 26 seats. And the writer says APC wins 22 seats, PDP 2, ADC 1 in Kogi. Police arrest 178 suspects in Lagos, Kano for election offences. Kalu's bill to empower states to build railways gets presidential assent. You can find that story on page 27. 6 missing as gunmen attack INEC officials in Kogi. And the writer says, my life under threat, Lagos wreck. That story can be found on page 4. Crowd may reduce this week as bank gets more cash supplies. I think that's great news coming from there for Nigerians. You can find that story on page 2. And that's just all the stories that we have on the front page of Daily Sun.
All right, so that takes us to this day newspaper. And of course, we have the major story there. APC wins big as Guba poll result comes in across Nigeria. And when you look at the different persons there, you have Sanwo-Olu of Lagos State, APC. You have Governor Abiodun of Ogun State, APC. You have Yahaya of Gombe State, APC. Shey Makinde of Oyo State, PDP. Okay, PDP. And of course, Bani Yobe, APC. And of course, Kwara, APC. You have Katsina, APC. You still have Sokoto, APC. And Jigawa as well, APC. So from the front line, you still find a lot of APC governorship positions taken across the respective state. And just underneath that, you have Sanwo-Olu, Makinde, Yahaya, Abiodun, Abdul Razak, others re-elected. And of course, Yobe reclaims Sokoto, comfortable in Ibom. Others. We'll look at the ruling party returns Katsina and Jigawa State. Still on the This Day newspaper, we also have Saludo maintains dominance in Anambra despite Labour Party's intimidation. And that is a major news there. Still on the This Day newspaper, you see the article, Amechi's revelation confirms INEC in ruling party candidates' pockets. These are just giving voices to the allegations made across the different quarters on the personality of the INEC chairman, Professor Mahmood Yakubu. And just underneath the lead there, you have alleges APC electoral body have mortgaged Nigeria's democracy. APC electoral body have mortgaged Nigeria's democracy. And of course, U.S. Federal Reserve order central banks move to head office or to head of crisis by keeping dollars flowing. U.S. Federal Reserve other central banks move to head of crisis by keeping dollars flowing. You can find that on page 10. And those are just the major headlines on this day newspapers.
Okay, let's look at the very next paper, which is going to be the Punch newspaper. This morning, a lot of election stories across the national dailies. We have the big story here that says Sanwo-Olu Makinde, Abiodun, Abdul Razak, Buni, others win. And of course, the pictorial stories of some of the winners of this particular elections there. We also have soldiers fall ISWAP election day attack. Kills 60 terrorists. Undergraduate denied treatment over bed space, dies in Luth. Quite a sad story. Arrested Ondo political thug will face trial. That's a statement there by the police. You can find that detail on page 27. Let's move forward now. Federal government racks in 10 trillion VAT, 10 trillion naira VAT on that Buhari from the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics. We also have NGX fined 16 firms 779 million naira. CBN may retain 17.5% leading rate as MPC meets. Labour candidate stops Nnamani's Senate return. And that's just all the stories that we have on the front page this morning of the Punch newspaper.
That takes us to the Nation newspaper. And of course, the big story in the Nation newspaper right up on the front page is Sanwo-Olu, Abdul Razak, Makinde and Abiodun re-elected. And you head down, you see APC wins Gombe, Jigaba, Yobe, Katsina and Sokoto State. PDP's Moina wins Akwa Ibom State. Still a lot from the electoral announcement. And then INEC declares Enugu election inconclusive, while governors maintain hold on assembly. Still on the Nation's newspaper, we have IG to Nigerians report electoral malpractices to the police. You can find that up at page 6 of the Nation's newspaper. Still more on the elections just concluded. INEC rolls out repeat polls where thugs disrupted process. INEC rolls out repeat polls where thugs disrupted process. And of course, as far as the port authorities are concerned, we are making ports better, says NPA. MD Coco. Federal government seeks 360 billion in view debt auctions. Federal government seeks 360 billion in new debt auction. And of course, 9 states to get governors elect today. And that includes Ebonyi, Rivers, Adamawa, Kaduna, others. And that's how much we can have from the Nation's newspaper.
Yeah, that's all we have today on our daily spotlight, looking at some of the very interesting stories making it on the front page of our national dailies this morning. At this point, we'll have Nigerians have their say. Of course, we'll get our phone lines open so that you can call in and give us your view, your thought, your opinion on some of these headlines. But again, governors that have been re-elected into office across states, and INEC saying that 9 states to get governors elected today. We are also keeping our fingers crossed as to who becomes the governor. But we've seen that a Labour Party, for example, had made a very, very good outing in this particular elections. We saw what happened in Abia State, where Ipazo is being toppled right now. We have Alex Oti come on board on that particular one, and of course in Enugu State as well. But there are also indications or allegations, you know, that there's trying to be some foul play somewhere in terms of manipulating the results or upturning the results as being announced. But quite sad story. I think that we'll be talking about post-elections issues for a very long time, because we have a lot of people that are also waiting on the line, you know, to go to the courts, election tribunals, you know, to address certain issues.
Well, a lot of litigations are going to happen shortly after this election, because INEC has been very adamant to the craze, the yearnings of Nigerians. It seems like the INEC chairman was just waiting for Nigerians to react. Recall what Dino Malaya said. You know, it's just like what happened in the 2015 election, where Orubebe was out, you know, running and, you know, speaking his mind, but nobody was paying attention to him. So we had Dino Malaya doing the same thing, and they even staged a walkout, and yet INEC went ahead to announce the elections, the international electoral observers made their standpoint known, and yet INEC still went ahead to announce the election result. And shortly after that, all we heard from President Muhammadu Buhari was head out to the court. And then if you look at the boldness and the arrogance behind that statement, you would clearly say it just might be the situation of who pays the pipers dictating the tune. And it raises a very huge question mark as to whether or not the judiciary will actually be the last hope of the Nigerian man who is seeking for justice. And if that doesn't happen, there are so many things that might happen in Nigeria. Before now, we're talking about the level of insecurity in the East. It might get to a point where there'll be spreads of insecurity across the different geopolitical zones. Because at this point, for the first time in the history of Nigeria, we saw religious organizations, the Muslims, the Christians, across divides, coming out to declare directly interest in the electoral process.
Yeah.
We saw churches taking an extra step to ensure that their candidates or their faithfuls, their worshippers, get registered to vote. We saw churches even denying people communion. If you don't have your PVC, no communion for you. If you don't have your PVC, you don't get to church. And that significantly contributed in the number of registration that we had. Now, coming down to the election proper, INEC that had promised Nigerians, we are going to deliver free, fair, credible, and I'd like to add, conclusive election, failed Nigerians woefully. And regardless of the warning from the international communities, regardless of the cries and yearnings of Nigerians, it seems nobody is listening. And as long as that is done or that continues, Nigerians are at this point feeling like our voices don't matter. We don't matter. And if we don't, or until we get to a violent state, Nigeria might not get to a point where we need it to be. And if it gets to that point, remember one of our guests from Lagos said, somebody had announced in Lagos, I had encouraged people, if you have a licensed gun, as you're coming out, come out with it. So if it gets to that point, and don't forget that in Nigeria, light weapons are on the increase. Okay, I think we have a call. Hello, welcome to Rise and Shine.
Okay, dropped call there, but serious issues as concerning the global elections. And of course, we cannot leave but also look at the presidential elections that happened on the 25th of February as well. A lot of hope was built on INEC as the electoral umpire, the independence of INEC as well. But let's take this call as our first call as we move forward. Hello, good morning and welcome to Rise and Shine.
Please.
Good morning. What's your name and where are you calling us from?
Yes, I'm Dr. Beke. I call from Port Harcourt.
Okay, Dr. Beke.
Yes, I think we had that conversation with Dr. Beke.
B-E-K-E-E.
Yeah,
okay,
welcome.
B-E-K-E-E, Beke. Okay,
yes,
go ahead.
Beke.
Go ahead,
yes.
sir.
See, my dear, I'm disgusted. I'm very angry with this country. See, Amechi, former governor of Rivers State, made it clearly. He made a statement that right from time they've been warning Mr. President, don't bring back Mahmoud, because Mahmoud was appointed into becoming the INEC chairman by Tinubu's boy. And Mr. President kept quiet. At the end of the day, now they've imposed people on us. Look at INEC chairman. That man, let me not use derogatory words. That man is mad in his head. How can he tell Nigerians that what happened at the election, that they are not going to do any rerun at the places where they killed people? They're not going to do anything, that the result he has given to us is authentic? That guy should, I don't know.
Okay.
That guy ought not to sit on that seat the next 24 hours. This country is getting off hand.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Becky from Port Harcourt. Thank you so much. I think you have made your point, but please, when you call us, try to talk civilly. Okay, civility is what we want here. Do not use derogatory words or very harsh words to rather incite the polity more than it is already. But we really do appreciate Dr. Becky from Port Harcourt. He is more like a very regular caller on our show. But Francis, serious concerns. I know that even after the presidential elections, there were serious calls for the resignation of Mahmoud Yakubu, known as the INEC boss, because for Nigerians, he has not lived up to his expectations. And I think that that call would go a long way. You know, Nigerians are not ready to, you know, cut off that call for his resignation. But do you also think that in this country where we are, you see what happened in the PDP, where they said that Okay, we have a call. Let's take this now. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to Rise and Shine. Your name and where you're calling us from.
Okay, so I was trying to say something. When we look at PDP, People's Democratic Party, for instance, and the whole issues that they had, to the breaking out of some governors, to the forming of the G5 governors, it was because of the internal democracies in the People's Democratic Party and the call for the resignation of the national chairman, Abdullahi Adamu, and it wasn't heeded. Now, we are in that point where we are saying, President, Mr. President, make sure that Mahmoud Yakubu resigns, and it's not being heeded. So a lot of questions now. If the president that did not obey the court's order, the Supreme Court order as to the redesign of the Naira and the Naira policy, is it the same president that would ask Mahmoud Yakubu to resign from that position?
Well, there are a lot of things that would definitely dent the president's image if actions are not taken. But I'll respond to your question. Let's take this call. Hello, good morning. Welcome to Rise and Shine.
Hello, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
My name is Peter.
Peter, where are you calling us from, please?
I'm calling from Abuja.
Okay, Peter from Abuja. Thank you so much. Go ahead.
Okay, I have a little contribution, and my own point is that let INEC know that Nigerians are watching and the youth are watching. They are seeing everything that is happening. And my most pain is that I see the kind of worst kind of deception and deceit. You know, if you don't want to do election, just appoint someone direct. No, why wasting our time, wasting our resources, wasting our energy? They budget a lot of money for you to do election. At the end, you guys to do your mathematics and put whoever you will. Why not go direct and put the person and stop wasting our time? Because we have lost hope on these people. Look at the governorship election, everything. They just have to hijack the power by all means. They don't care how they do it. They just need the power by all means. Maybe just hijack the power, then anything will go to court. Who owns the court? It's them. So I don't know the kind of country they are building for us. I don't know the hope for the youth. And this thing is affecting us. It's affecting our image outside country. We are suffering it. Look at how they are looking at us. When you travel, go outside country, they will even search your pints, search everything about you because of our leader. Please let them do something. This is getting out of hand.
All right, Peter, thank you so much. Your point is made and noted, actually. Talking about, you know, the identity of the Nigerian person outside the shores of the country, I think that's a flip side to all of what we've been talking about, you know, and him saying that when you get to the embassy, they search you thoroughly, even to your underwear. It's quite pathetic. But again, would we say that it is because of the political terrain that we have in the country that is causing, you know, some of the serious searches at embassies, or because of some kinds of ugly images that Nigerians outside the country, the shores of the country, have built for themselves? Let's not also forget, it's not everything that has to do, you know, with the leadership of a particular country. There are some Nigerians that will leave the shores of the country and go into very illegal and illegitimate businesses that would also mar the identity of Nigerians outside the country.
Yes, you're right. There are some Nigerians who, through their actions and activities outside the shores of Nigeria, have dented the country's image. But are there other nationals who are also doing that to their respective country? Yes. So why are those nationals, why are those other countries not being treated the way Nigerians are being treated? So it comes down to the home front. It comes down to the leadership structure. It comes down to the people in position of power and authority. It comes down to the generality of the atmosphere of how we are treated, even in our own country. So if your country doesn't care about your life, if your country has not attached attach so much worth and value and importance to your person in your own country, then the outside world is not going to be that.
All right, we'll come back to that. Let's just answer this call and we go ahead. Please do well to turn down the volume of a television set. Do well to turn down the volume of a television. Good morning. What's your name and where are you calling us from?
My name is Kelvin. I'm calling from Port Harcourt, River State.
Kelvin from Port Harcourt. Go ahead, Kelvin.
Yes, River State. Now, what I want to say in regards to this election stuff, the INEC. Now, all my life, I've not really voted because we needed somebody with competence, a man we could trust. We need somebody that when he speaks, we know this man has a vision for Nigeria. When we saw Mr. P2B, myself, I went to get my PVC. I spent money to make sure I was able to get a PVC. When I got it, I was happy like I won a visa. Okay, we all went on that day to vote. We went there. We voted Mr. P2B. Everybody knows. Now, what I want to say is this. The way Nigeria is going, the way INEC is going, APC government and the INEC, they've killed democracy. I tell you, if nothing is done in the next 4 years, believe you me, nobody will go out to vote. Because a lot of us, we went out for the first time. So I was there myself. The way I was jogging to the polling booth just to vote on that day. And somebody somewhere is bringing a man that the people didn't vote. This man was announced on the 1st of March. You needed to see the sadness in the whole Nigeria. People were sad on the first day of the month because they gave us a man we didn't vote. If the mandate of P2B is not recovered, believe me, in the next 4 years, next election, nobody will go. They should give us the person they select themselves. Just like the last caller said, why wasting over 300 billion? To conduct an election that is not credible. You saw they were shooting people in Lagos. People were harassing people in some polling units, telling them, if you are not voting APC, don't go here, don't do this. And yet INEC is saying nothing will be done. If nothing is done, people are already breaking their PVCs because it is not useful as far as Nigerian democracy is concerned. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kelvin. Sounding more like a pastor, preaching there. But it's beautiful to know that Nigerians are reacting to some of those issues. And we talked about the fact that a lot of Nigerians going forward, 2027, which is around the corner. I would like to say around the corner.
Around the corner.
4 years, it's nothing to go by,
Exactly.
okay? So before you know it, 4 years will be wrapping up and we'll be looking at another election. But again, will Nigerians go out the way they went out this period, to go vote and all of that? But before we even, let's bring in something else. Before the elections proper, we saw a lot of people leaving the country, and that's how the Jackpot syndrome came into focus, So, Mr. Francis, do you think that we'll also be seeing much more people leave the country? We were talking about failed leadership from our last caller. Most of those that left the country believe that, look, the country cannot fend for me. The country cannot fend for my family. The country cannot provide that environment where I can thrive, where my business can thrive. The country is not giving me jobs, so I need to leave to somewhere else that the system seems to be working. The system is not working in Nigeria. So do we see another exodus of Nigerians from our country to other countries this period?
I think I should call you a prophetess right about now, because that is exactly what is going to happen. What's on the street, a lot of persons are already trying to see how much they can save up to begin to prepare their visa to head out of this country. If I have to take my mind back to what happened in Ukraine when the Russia invaded, we saw video footage of Nigerian students vying to rather die in Ukraine rather than come back to Nigeria. Why was that so? Now, that was before now. So you can imagine what the atmosphere will be like now that we have given all our hopes. The Nigerians' hope were raised to the highest climax. And then everybody anticipated and expected, oh, finally, we're going to have a leader that we want, a leader that we choose. But the outcome is here.
But again, if you say that, I think that Bola Ahmed Tinubu, president-elect under the All Progressive Congress, has promised that he's going to, even if it means his last blood, to make sure that Nigeria is a country that will be described as the giant of Africa. Again, he says he will be having sleepless nights to make sure that he puts Nigeria on the map of policies that are supposed to be recognized. But before we go further, let's listen to our next caller. Hello. turn down the volume of your television. Thank you so much. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning from Edo State.
What's your name, please?
I was listening to you people. Thank you very much.
What's your name?
To say, Tinubu can never be our president.
Sorry, what's your name? We'd like to know you. What's your name? What's your name, sir? We'd like to know you.
My name is Destiny.
Destiny. From where?
Yeah.
Okay.
Destiny from Lafayette. Go ahead.
Hello, are you hearing me?
Yes, we can hear you.
So, Tinubu, like I said before, it can never be our president. We are run out of patience. I'm here now. This last election, I didn't care to go Fido, but they was begging me. I said, no, I don't have person to vote for because I'm very, very bitter.
Okay, so Destiny from Lafayette.
The Nigeria so-called Buhari, who says our president need to do something before any other thing, or else things will be spoiled. We are running out of patience.
All right, thank you so much. I think you have made your point, sir. Thank you so much. We don't want people sounding very uncivil on national television. Thank you so much, Kelvin from Lafayette. Obviously, Nigerians are not happy, but then again, we wouldn't say all Nigerians are not happy. We had supporters of those different candidates, so some parts of Nigerians are happy with the outcome of the elections. Now, we also have people that say that, you know, when we look at the history of politics and electoral elections in Nigeria, this is one of the fairest that we can actually point our hands to. But before you say something, Mr.
Let's take
Mr.
this call before I respond to that. Hello, welcome to Rise and Shine. Your name and where you're calling from. Good morning.
Is Israel calling from Lagos?
Israel from Lagos. Go ahead.
Wow. The only thing I can say about this is that you don't know a man until you give him a chance. Actually, according to you were saying something about are we not going to see more Nigerians going out of this country? Yeah, it's a normal thing. Some, even though the prepared candidates enter, people will still go out of the country. People that will go. And people that will not go will still remain. Are you getting me? The only thing there is that we forgot something. Before this very administration come into place, people trusted President Buhari that this man has been very candid during the time he was held as petroleum, that was in charge of petroleum then. But today, look at what it turns to be. So you don't put your trust in a man. That is why I'm sorry to use this word. The Bible says, woe be unto a man that put his trust in a man. So the only thing there is that it's all about Tinubu is not going to be your president or so. You don't know what God might change things to work in your favor. So you don't have to be pessimistic that this man can never do it because the way he looks or the way he sounds. I don't trust any of them. Come to think of it, I don't trust anybody. Well, give him a chance. Let's not see what he's going to do.
All right, thank you so much, Israel. I think that's an angle. You know, when Nigerians see the person of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, let's not forget that most of the things that he sold to Nigerians were his major achievements in Lagos State. And a lot of people and supporters of Bola Ahmed Tinubu have said that, look, whatever he did in Lagos State as the governor for 8 years, he's definitely going to be replicating that in Nigeria. But some people would actually argue that Lagos State is just one out of the 36 states of the Federation. And so how can he, in that state, according to Nigerians, be able, to gather the commonwealth of the country and make sure that it is appropriated accordingly?
Well, it's a big thing. In as much as I can start with Israel, because God still has the power to use anybody to transform the landscape and the narrative. But that is one side. Looking at what Tinubu reportedly did while in Lagos State as the governor, that two sides of that. We've seen a former deputy governor of Ahmed Bola Tinubu in Lagos State coming out to tell Nigerians how his relationship with her was during their tenure as the governor and deputy governor, respectively. We've seen people within the Lagos State government coming out to speak about the president of Ahmed Bola Tinubu. Now, if we even have to make a digression or a shift from that, Lagos State happens to be the one state within this election with the highest number of violence recorded. And that is owed to the fact that it is owned by an APC. At the national level, we have Ahmed Bola Tinubu. At the state level, we have Sanwo-Olu. Have either of these men spoken to the injustice happening in Lagos State? None of them have said anything. Have any of them made any statement to even conscientize the minds of the people? Did Lagos State Governor call MC Olomo to order when that statement was made? No, he didn't. Have we had Ahmed Bola Tinubu, the Jagaban, calling his boy to order? No, we've not seen that happen.
I think a lot of people will also argue that, you know, what happened in Lagos during the presidential election is what the APC did not want to see again happen in Lagos State. And let's not forget that Labour Party had a very good outing in Lagos State. And even if you look at the numbers and, you know, the votes in between Sanwo-Olu now, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, the incumbents and also incoming, and you look at the votes of Rhodes, Vivo, you see that it's not, we won't call that a landslide victory on the part of Babajide Sanwo-Olu. But again, let's just deviate a little because of time and look at something here. Not state assembly elections now. Adeleke Lord's electorate for giving PDP 25 out of 26 seats in Osun State. Now we know what is happening in Osun State. We know that the results of the March 16 election in Osun State has been contested, you know, and all of that. Adegboyega Oyetola, on the other hand, of the All Progressive Congress, is going to appeal court to appeal the result that brought Adeleke into state. But we have here that the PDP has clinched 25 out of the 26 seats in the State House of Assembly. Now, where does that leave the APC in Osun State? Because it was made, the APC made it look as if their mandate was stolen and the people of Osun State actually wanted Boyega Oyetola. But we are seeing the narrative change here. 25 out of 26 states.
Well, as far as Osun State is concerned, recall all of this drama, all of the promises made by INEC stem from Osun State election, where electronic transmission of the result was done. And that was why INEC kept promising Nigerians. So to that effect, everything that happened in Osun State can be said to be the minds of the people. We've had, apart from the video footages, where we saw people intentionally returning APC politicians with their truckload of rice, their truckload of food items and other things, and declaring openly, we are no longer playing politics of food, we are no longer playing politics of selling our mandates. We want to vote for a candidate we need and we know will change the narrative for all of us. We saw that happen. We saw talks not being able to do anything at the respective polling unit because the people stood up for themselves. And we've also seen that record across Nigeria during the just concluded elections where talks went to an area, but they were stopped.
Okay, I'm going to stop you right there and let's answer to this call and then we'll come back to wrap up things on Rise and Shine this morning. Hello, good morning. What's your name and where are you calling us from?
I remain Beke.
Beke, I know that voice.
Good morning.
All right, very quickly now, please.
Yes, I want to make another contribution, just as my brother said in the studio. You see, all the things that have been happening in Lagos, Tinubu never called his boys to order. Sanwo-Olu never called his boys to order. All the threats, everything, the killings and all the rest of them. Imagine where you go, ballot papers, you know, people's votes will be scattered everywhere. And these guys will burn those votes. At the end of the day, INEC had the mind. In fact,
I think we lost that call there, but Dr. Beke from Port Harcourt was actually agreeing to what you were saying in Lagos State. We were also hoping that someone like the Jagaban president-elect under the All Progressives Congress, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, will call Musiliu Akinsoya to order, given that particular statement that he made and direct threats to the Igbos in Lagos State. Let's not also forget, Francis, the Igbos have come under a lot of serious attack in Lagos State due to the outcome of the presidential elections that happened on the 25th of February.
Well, it's not just the Igbo. We have Akwa who are currently in Lagos State. And then when you have conversations with them, they just tell you, as long as you're not Yoruba, and even when you're Yoruba and you're not of the APC, So it's not just a threat that was issued to the Igbo. Yes, it targeted the Igbo, but it targeted everybody who was not voting for the APC. If you're Yoruba and you're not APC, don't go out. If you're Igbo, worse. If you're Akwa Ibom, you're not Igbo, you're not Yoruba, as long as you're not of the APC family, that was the target. So yes, the channel, they targeted they mentioned one particular ethnicity, but it was targeted at every other person. And this is something that a leader would have spoken against. This is something that a leader who has the interest of the people would have reason to take actions against. And if that is not coming at this point when it is critical, it means it's never going to come. Now, if Sanwo-Olu is sworn in as the governor of Lagos State, re-elected, what chances are we going to have that is not going to be further vindictive towards the different ethnicity, towards the different group of people? Sanwo-Olu has been a governor of Lagos State, and we've never seen him head to the streets. We've never seen him go to the malls. We've never seen the things that he's done within these last few weeks happening.
Handshakes at entrances of churches and 100 million naira to the Akere market people. Anyways, we'll take this call as our very final call. Anyway, okay, dropped call there, but we're still expecting Nigerians to call in and give their reactions based on some of the things that have happened in the last couple of days. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is John Udo. Calling you from Enugu.
John Udo from Enugu. Go ahead. I hear that the elections in Enugu are inconclusive.
Yeah, but it's inconclusive. There's no violence.
Okay, so there's so much noise coming from your end. We might just have to drop that call. It's not good for national television. Thank you so much, John from Enugu there. We also have Imo State that has been marred. The elections in Imo State have been marred by serious violence. But before we wrap things up, we just have barely 4 minutes for wrap up this morning. Mr. Francis, let's even look at we were happy this morning that we have some women, you know, folks in this past elections now come up to, you know, win some seats. We had the 26-year-old girl somewhere in Kwara State now and exactly win this, you know, seats under the for the State Houses of Assembly. And then we were also happy for somebody like the APC's Binani in Adamawa State go by elections. But I'm seeing some sketchy reports here that says that in the wee hours of today, talks went wild in Adamawa State and Yola, smashing cars and inflicting injuries on motorists and other passerbyers because they are protesting APC Binani's go by elections. More like she is the preferred candidate, but this is not the person that INEC wants to announce at the end of the day.
Well, if that happens, should that happen, there's definitely going to be a lot of problems. I know that Binani happens to be one lady that President Muhammadu Buhari attended one of her campaigns, or her campaign rather, and that's to show you that to a large extent she has support from across the APC family. And if INEC for any reason is trying to overturn the result of the election, that people already, I mean, from the majority of the collated result, it was crystal clear she's leading. So the three remaining collation could not have so significantly upturned the situation against her. So when these situations happen, it's just like we saw the women in Bielsa going back to the market to sell.
And even the presidential elections in Rivers State, where Labour Party was apparently leading, and just all of a sudden we saw the votes coming in from Wike's Obiak Port local government area, and that changed the narrative and the trajectory for Labour Party in Rivers State.
Well, definitely, it cannot be that one local government cannot change the narrative, because there is no way. It's like following the trends of the result in Akwa Ibom State yesterday. One question kept coming. You look at Party A, Party AA, Party ADC, and if you look at across the local government area, there is no possibility that Party A will consistently be scoring 2-3, 2-3 across the respective local government area. So it's like a choreographed result sheet. It's like somebody somewhere, you know, is playing Panky Yankee and is putting that to Nigerians. And Nigerians are wise. Nigerians are learned. Nigerians can see through those things. So what you're doing, the people already, you know, have an understanding of what you're attempting to do. So that, you know, opposition from the people is going to come. And what is going to happen at this point? If the powers that be make peaceful transition impossible, we might get to violent. I don't pray we ever get to that point, because you know why? The people that are going to still suffer it are the common masses.
Yeah, definitely. So at this point, we'll just put a pause on some of these conversations. But we want to say a very big thank you to all Nigerians that have actually called in on the show this morning to give your contributions. Of course, the elections have come and gone. Like I said earlier, it's now time for the serious work. Politicking is just one aspect of our democracy. Governance is another major aspect where Nigerians get to decide or see the true colors of some of those people that have been elected into political offices. We are hoping, they say do not judge a book by its covers. So let's put our fingers crossed on whether these men, these women that have been elected into different offices across the country will deliver on the dividends of democracy for Nigerians. But at this point, we'll take our quote of the day, and that's how we wrap things up on Rise and Shine for today.
Of the day we have, if your voice is high, only a few people will hear. But if your thought is high, then many people will listen.
Invage activist. Okay. I think that's a nice one. If your voice is high, only a few people will hear. But if your thought is high, a lot of people will listen to you. And I think this goes out to our political leaders at this point in time. That quote of the day came pretty apt. Let the thoughts of our political leaders towards Nigerians be high. Let it be that they have come to serve humanity and not their pockets and their immediate family members.
Well, that's exactly my thought at this point. But here's the good news. If you're coming to save your pocket and your immediate family, I think Nigerians have gotten to a point where that is not going to be business as usual. So watch out and make sure that you serve us. If you don't, well, we have a PVCs. And the law court is also there for us to take justice.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Francis, for being on the show with me this morning.
Thank you, Janice.
That's the much we can take. We'll see you again tomorrow on Rise and Shine. My name is Janice Cobham. Bye-bye.